Would you take a moment and introduce Mr. Harper, please?
Jerry Harper is a local attorney. He is the attorney who filed suit against the city with regard to the water billing overcharging.
So why is he sitting in the studio today?
Well, because the city council this week voted to approve the practice of rounding up the bills. Jerry really doesn't want to be here. I kind of forced him to come in today. Threatened him. I know stuff about him, so I bribed him, and made him come in.
Wow. Let me give you my list of people.
He reluctantly agreed because he's in the middle of negotiating the settlement on the previous lawsuit he won.
Yeah.
But then this action this week, you're concerned about what they did, correct?
Yeah, I'm concerned about it. Sure am.
What action did the council take? What impact does it have on the average Shreveport resident?
Well, as you may know, we have filed 3 class action lawsuits against the city of Shreveport, and one of them that affects all the residential customers of the city of Shreveport. We sued the city for overbilling its customers by rounding up, among other practices, that caused people to be charged more than the water and sewer services that they were actually consuming.
And this had not been until Tuesday. Correct me if I'm wrong here. Let me give it to you in the form of a question.
Sure.
On Tuesday, did the Shreveport City Council codify the very actions that got them sued?
They did. What the court ruled in our favor and declared the practices of the city of Shreveport, these overbilling practices, to be unlawful. And I then filed a motion with the court to prohibit the mayor from allowing the city to send out any bills that contained overbilling.
So in your legal mind,
just this week, you mean?
I did that back in November.
Okay.
And immediately after I did that, the administration sent a new ordinance to the city council, which legitimized the rounding and other practices that had been declared unlawful.
Pardon me just a second. In your mind, in your opinion, is that kosher? Can they do that? Is now everything that you sued the city for, you and your clients sued the city for, is that all? It's like, not that case is completely settled, but in your mind, is that from this date forward, or when the mayor signs the legislation, it's all put to bed, right?
You're asking me 2 questions. Is it legal? The first question is yes. Now they can overbill. Now the city can legitimately overbill you, and if they do the ordinance correctly.
Well, you say there's a problem with the ordinance, though, right?
There's some problems with the ordinance, but and maybe we'll get into that later.
Okay.
Is it fair? That's a completely different question, because it still permits the city to bill you for more than you consume, and I have a problem with that.
Okay, that's like if I go pump gas in my car, and I pump $7.50 of gas in my car, but they charge me $8.
That's exactly
what they're doing.
That's exactly what the city is doing.
But do they have the technology to charge me $7.50 though?
They have the technology to charge you $7.51, $7.52, $7.53. They choose to round up these numbers.
Will what they did this week, will that, in your opinion, as a lawyer, will that result in another lawsuit?
It may. I don't want to get too far into that. We're having some discussions with the city. If I could talk about that, I'd rather not be here today, because the mayor, our new mayor, has said that he wants to sit down and resolve the practices that started under prior administrations. Mm-hmm. And so on the 17th and 18th of next week, we're going to sit down and try to resolve those suits. And we're going to take the mayor at his word and hope that he's going to sit down with us and agree to pay back the citizens of the city of Shreveport for all these practices under the prior mayors, and for us to get a clean slate. What the city council did this week is a bad start, but that's the city council. That's not the mayor. We hope to get the class action suits resolved, but we know it's against the backdrop of higher water billing. people are not going to have lower water bills.
Where's the city council in fixing this or addressing this? I mean, you and I both hear, Robert hears from people that get crazy water bills all the time.
4,000.
Yeah. Where's the council been on fixing this problem? They've been in office now a year. They can't say I'm new anymore.
Well, I can tell you that I've been about the business of giving the city a hard time about its water billing practices now for 3 years or so. And we have written the city council several times during that process and inviting them to have dialogue with us about what's going wrong. At times we pointed out to them in advance that the city is overbilling for this or that service. Please help us remedy this, or I'm going to have to sue you. We've offered to show them these errors at our own expense. I have received not a single telephone call, correspondence, or other communication from a single city councilman over that entire 3 years. And this is, your city council is the people's house. That's the legislative body of the city. It is their job to prevent the residents from being overcharged. It is their job to see to it that the residents receive reimbursements when they've been overcharged. They have been AWOL for 3 years.
If the technology exists, correct me if I'm wrong now, I'm just going what you said a couple of seconds ago. If the technology exists to do very, very fine point billing, as it were, then what's the purpose of rounding up, of making that, of legislating the rounding up process or activity, you know?
It permits the city to collect more money than it would otherwise be able to collect. During the process of discovery in this case, we found internal memos that pointed out that by rounding up, the city can generate more revenue.
Jerry, Harper, let me ask you one more thing. Personal. When am I getting my money back?
Well, it depends on whether how the discussions go next week. As I say, we take the mayor at his word, and we're hopeful that these discussions on the 17th and 18th will result in an agreement to pay back millions of dollars that are owed to the residents of the city of Shreveport. If that happens, I would look for the checks to be delivered sometime in the first quarter of next year.
That number, by the way, that we heard about 25 million. Is that unfair?
That's not an unfair figure at all.
And the water department is sitting on what kind of reserve funding?
The water department, not coincidentally with these overbilling practices, has absorbed a surplus of $43 million that's sitting there.
Okay, that 25 million divided by 60,000.
Oh, brother.
I'm doing the math. That's $416 on average.
Right.
That's what the average resident could expect. It's based on how much you use, I guess, right?
Well,
round it up.
You get a chunk of that too, though, right?
Well, there will be attorney's fees that'll be
Okay.
part of this. We don't know how much that'll be. We don't know how much we will receive, if anything, as a result of these discussions. But your math is right.
Okay.
And we will do what we will do is attempt to allocate the money on the basis of who's been damaged in the class.